Now, we're still waiting for clarity on exactly what the U.S. strike on Iran's nuclear facilities actually accomplished. So we are going to reserve judgment until they figure it out, okay? Back in the States, however, a war of words has broken out between Trump and AOC. He went on a late-night social media rant calling her one of the dumbest people in Congress. He claims she's not qualified for office, and he demanded that she take the cognitive test that he swears he aced. Now, AOC responded on Instagram Live, so let's take a look at her response.
Apparently, Trump woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, and he decided that he wanted to pick a fight with me. Little old me. And he's going to lose that. So maybe don't send our country into war when the vast majority of Americans, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, don't want us randomly bombing countries because you're in some type of mood.
So, you know, my experience with him and my observation of him is he really doesn't really like strong women.
Right.
He likes dutiful, obedient women who compliments him, I find. Even back in the day when I used to do jokes about his hair, you know, but every male comedian did jokes about his hair, but he went after me in particular.
And Rosie.
Who?
And Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, Rosie, yeah. He went bananas on Rosie.
Yeah.
So he's not going to like her. He's somehow this type of woman really gets in his kishkes,
Well, he
you know?
projects, too, also, right? He's calling her dumb and unqualified.
Yes. Well,
Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, but my question here is, are young Democrats like AOC finding the voice that's connecting with people? What do you think?
I think absolutely. You know, I've been saying, you know, people are talking about a resistance, and I think that's a very inactive position. I think you need to be an opposition party at this point in this country. And so I think Democrats are finding their way with these younger voices. We saw it in New York for the new mayor who calls himself a Democratic socialist. You know, he's very progressive.
Wow.
And he ran on issues that I think Republicans were owning before. He ran on cost of living issues. He zeroed in on essentials such as housing in New York, transportation, free buses in New York, childcare, groceries. Those are things that people are really caring about. Also, in the House, we've got the youngest person, I think, am I right?
Maxwell.
Garcia.
Oh, as the chairman of Oversight.
As the chairman of the Oversight Committee. So that also shows that that we're seeing, I think, this sort of new generation of leaders that are unafraid and they're on the offense as opposed to sort of being on the resistance.
No, it's not always, because a lot of the thoughts they're bringing up are Bernie Sanders ideas. And this is, so the number one thing.
He's young at heart, though.
He might be young at heart, but I think it's less about, it might be less about the age and more about the issues they're speaking of, because right now, the cost of living in the U.S. has risen by nearly 24% since early 2020, 24% in 5 years. And only 40% of Americans earn enough to afford a minimal quality of life. Almost half of this country can't even have the minimal amount. So I think when you speak to how you're gonna help with housing like this man did, and he also said he's going to do something that is so brilliant. He's going to tax the billionaires. He actually said he wants to raise the corporate tax.
Who, the mayor?
The
Primary, the Democratic primary one.
He said, I'm going to...
He can't tax them federally. He can do city tax, but they'll move out of New York.
If you raise the corporate tax rate in New York, you're going to kill a lot of businesses that are going to
but you know what? If the bottom line is billionaires need to stop making tax write-offs and make the country their contribution. And they need to pay their damn taxes. Yes, but I'm saying that he said the way he's going to fund his freeze on rents in New York City is by taxing wealthy corporations and a flat tax for the highest 1%
What about owners who rent in New York City? So if you own property, so a lot of my family were second-generation immigrants. Instead of trusting putting things in the market, they would buy property and they'd invest in real estate. So they may own a separate apartment that they rent out to someone. You freeze that rental property, what does it do to small landlords? It doesn't help, of course, private businesses or big corporations or foreign entities who are buying up real estate in New York. Sure, we got to deal with them, but a lot of people who are
owners, if you freeze the rent, they're not going to make their profits back. I'm very nervous about this new mayoral candidate, but I want to broaden this because I don't even live in New York City. Most of our viewers don't. AOC, listen, she is a smart, sharp voice on the left, but I got to say, Donald Trump is dying to have this fight with her because he wants to make her the face of the Democratic Party. Why? Because, well, she's super articulate, smart, and somebody that energizes young people. How many bills has she passed into law? She has a less than 1% success legislative record. Similar to Bernie Sanders, 15 years in the Senate. Now he's more than that. He had less than a 1% record of actually passing legislation. You always need people who are going to kind of get people energized. But what this country needs is solutions and people who can't just talk about them. They can work across the aisle and they can get them done. And to me, AOC is not the answer. I'm very nervous about this potential new mayor here because this city does have real problems and you need somebody with experience. He's had no real job that makes him ready to run one of the biggest economies in New York City, and it makes me nervous.
Well, he's not there yet.
So can I? So on the AOC Trump thing, I think it is cuckoo crazy, taco loco. If, you know, for Donald Trump, in the middle of military action against Iran, trying to get Iran and Israel to the table in a peace treaty, from Air Force One, as he is en route to a NATO meeting, where he's going to meet with people like Zelensky and other allies and try to be a statesman for the world to see, is picking a Twitter fight like a teenage girl with AOC, who's a fairly new congressperson who's not even on leadership.
Does he even know who she is?
Well,
he definitely
But
knows.
you know, and this thing that happened in New York, it actually reminded me of the AOC the first time she won the congressional seat. So here she was, a very progressive upstart, young upstart, running against somebody that was considered a sacred cow in the Democratic.
That's right.
And he was in Democratic leadership, Joe Crowley. He'd been in Congress for, 20, 30 years. He thought he was untouchable. She put in the shoe leather. She worked hard as hell. And I think this Mamdani guy
he did the same thing.
Took Cuomo by surprise. A few weeks ago, nobody gave him a shot in hell. And Cuomo started, being the establishment candidate, brought in all of these endorsements from establishment Democrats that didn't matter one damn to New Yorkers. And honestly, Cuomo has a lot of baggage.
And maybe that's
this
the
is a guy who's got a nursing home scandal that's still dogging him and alleged sexual
But Anna,
accusations.
do you think that maybe is the playbook for Democrats going forward? That grassroots type of campaign where you address
I'm not sure if
real
Cuomo
people.
didn't have the baggage
I
that
have
he
a question
does.
for Sarah.
He would have.
Hello. I have to ask a question. Like you said that the inflation has gone up 24% since
the cost of living in the
cost
U.S.
of living. So with Trump's tariffs, all that stuff that he's been doing, isn't that going to raise the thing to like 50%? I mean, I worry.
Cost of goods will go up.
Yeah,
the cost of goods will go up, and then the cost of living goes up.
Yes.
It's not, but I think they
maybe
ran on that.
Maybe it is time for somebody on the other side to really get into
But you know
this.
what happens
Because
when
people
you
are gonna
raise the
feel it
taxes on the billionaires?
In the supermarkets, at the car dealers,
When
everywhere.
When you raise the taxes on the billionaires, they're all moving to Florida. And they're making sure that they don't spend 180 days
They won't
in
stay
the
in
United
New
States.
And we should also differentiate.
The poor people are the ones staying
differentiate personal taxes on billionaires and corporate tax rates. If we raise corporate tax rates, businesses are going to say, "Cool, it's cheaper to be in Georgia, Texas." That's why Florida.
Personal.
That's why people. They can do a flat tax on the billionaires.
We're out of